How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Quant update. So in my last video, I was pretty much suggesting everyone to just dissect the moves because there's no guarantee in the follow through. So essentially on the break of this trend line, the expectation would be, as it's now breaking out of this downtrend, we're also seeing all the moving averages recovered. So it's breaking out of the downtrending moving averages. So it's setting up a bullish move back to the all-time highs, but I'll be more cautious before the all-time highs at this specific area. So the area is 136 to 152. More specific level, 152. On the break of 152, and I can't guarantee right now that this bottom, after meeting my bearish targets that I had projected while the bullish trend was still being maintained. So I had to put my neck on the line. Once we had seen this actually break down, lose the 200 EMA, there was quite a large green candle, and this would have thrown every single person off apart from myself. I've seen this too many times in the 6 years I've been doing this. And when you get a massive wick, it just tends to get filled. There were other charts at the same time, like H bar, with really big wicks, and they got filled. So you can argue that this could actually get filled at some point, but it is quite large. But we're talking about something monstrous like that. So for Quant, and same over here with Quant. So it eventually got filled. 112 is where I was suggesting we could see a move up into, but that wouldn't be good enough. Getting to that level is not good enough. Whenever I say level, it needs to be recovered and flipped in support. So you need to see a breakthrough and then actually maintaining a support. We just pumped into it. Now the moving average trend broke. You saw a close above. The following candle had the rejection, and then we saw closes back under and confirmation that it was resistance. So you've now seen one example here and multiple to the left where there was a breakthrough, the moving averages breaking at that point, the downtrend, but it didn't sustain because there's more to it than just the trend line. So that's why now on this much larger scale version, even though we broke in this downtrending line and the moving averages, we still need to dissect the moves. So the first move that's been triggered on the break and recovery of these trend lines and moving averages and this level 81, 85K. Sorry, I'm used to talking about Bitcoin, $85. This is basically triggering a move up into that zone once again, which is where we saw the rejection and continuation lower. So 110 to 112. Once that is broken, you can see the next move triggers. So that was just the arrow that I had all the way back then, because we got up into that key level and failed. So this would be the expectation. And you can see that I'm not drawing beyond this level, because technically you can put in a macro lower high hit, and this move up could still be a dead cat bounce. This is why I can't really say anything with confidence, because I've just been wrecked too many times over 6 years to calling bottoms, thinking that we're actually progressing. Maybe even 1 month passes. So imagine 30 days plus go by and it's going in your favor. We're thinking it's developing, it's building up, it's accumulating, just to get wrecked, because there's been many occasions in the past. It was actually the exact way I was able to call the downfall of Quant all the way back in 2022 when FTX collapsed. It was right there. We saw a move down. That was already KO, because with such a move down, you now need to climb all the way back up. And all of that progress, getting to that 886 level, would make us think, okay, yeah, that double bottom is reclaiming the moving averages. It's breaking out. I have an expected target. I'm assuming these are the all-time highs next, and these targets beyond the all-time high, $800. However, if it does not break through the 886, so we could see a move from $93 to $200. We could have accumulated down here and doubled our money. So that's a big feat. And that could have all been, well, not could have, it would have all been taken away, as you can see this develop. And it was funny, when I was making videos about $60, $70, you can only imagine the hate when we're up at 100, 200. In fact, very famous for back then, what exploded my channel a few years ago was calling this as a top because I used to make daily updates on Quant. But look at it against Bitcoin is the reason why I moved away from it. Nothing to do with what the project does fundamentally. I just care about the chart, and we can see it's just going down in the trend towards zero. And I think that even if Quant makes new all-time highs in dollars, that it will not make new all-time highs against Bitcoin, because nothing will outperform Bitcoin long term. And after a coin has gone through its first cycle, it's pretty much done. And Ethereum is actually starting to prove this scary fact. I'm also starting to see signs on Solana as well. So we know its first cycle over here, the 2017 top. Now, in 2021, we were higher. We went to almost 5K, and this top was 1K or 1.5K or something along those lines in 2017. But way higher in terms of dollars in 2021. And we went to 4K again not too long ago at the end of the year or the beginning of this year. In terms of Bitcoin trending towards zero, even if we look at Solana Bitcoin, and I'm personally, do what you want because it's completely down to you. And I don't understand a lot of you in the comments say, but they've just striked a partnership with Microsoft. Apparently, I don't look into the fundamental side anymore. I used to, of course, but what really matters is the chart. And if it's not outperforming Bitcoin long term, then why should I even take the risk and gamble? If majority of the time, and this is not specifically to QNT, this is to every single coin, including what's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 10, top 20, whatever it is, whatever coin it is, no matter if it's outperforming Bitcoin in moments, long term, it just won't, because there would be coins bigger than Bitcoin if that was true. And none of them have the trust that Bitcoin has. I can go back and audit it all the way to its first block, but you couldn't do the same for XRP, for example. Their Genesis block is like block 30,000. So how can I trust something like that? And yes, you could argue it's outperformed Bitcoin over the last year or two in terms of how many percent gains it did to make a new all-time high at $3.40 for XRP. If we take a look at that quickly. It took how many years though to get up there? So we put in a new all-time high in terms of price, but then you compare it in terms of Bitcoin, and $3.40 is lower than 39 cents XRP because Bitcoin has moved on. It's forgotten about this. The XRP, the Solana, the ETH, the dollars, the pound, the euro, the yen, whatever it is in the dust. That's why over years it's only going up. So literally nothing outperforms, and it's one of the main reasons, obviously the trust, but because it doesn't go down as bad, it doesn't need to win back all those losses. So something that goes down 80, 90% over the past year, and I'm not saying Quant is, I'm just talking about crypto in general, guys, but I'm using this Quant video to get this message out to you. So look at that. Now that is after making nothing. I made 20x the moment I left Quant, which was the end of 2023. I just got fed up, had enough. I wanted to try something new, and my first experience with low caps, and not only myself but my community, managed to 20x our money by giving up on Quant and literally and XRP at the time, and moving that money over into these small caps, and literally not just changed my life but multiple others in the Discord community. There are some people, now yes, I can claim this, but it's down to you to believe it or not, but there were a few people with less than 10k hitting 50k, for example. There's one person started off with around 10k, hit over 100k. But the thing is, what came out of it, this was just temporary. It was all taken away. So you see Quant, without really even moving up, it went down 66%. So imagine doing a 10, 20x and then losing it all. What is the point if you're going to make these gains and it's temporary, and if you're not a trader, then you're going to lose it all. And then you get put in that situation where it's down that bad, and then you're hoping that it's going to get back to where it was and surpass it. Now for coin like Quant, there is definitely more potential than other coins because of its backing, because of how high it is in the rankings, that it can definitely break this high and get back to where it was previously. But it's not the same for majority of the coins in the market. For Quant, it's in a little bit of a different situation because it's a lot bigger than other coins. But what is the point of going through that constantly, seeming like there is progress, or, for example, in this case of Quant, getting back to where it used to be in 2022 at the highs of $200, or even getting back to the 2023 levels? That's showing progress. Look how violent that move up is. But look at the duration of time, how short it was. November the 4th to December the 7th. So 1 month of daily progress, thinking we're going in the right direction. This is what I was talking about with the 886 fib. And then all taken away from us. Now, from $200, you'd put a fib like this. And you can see, look at where Quant rejected. That box that I draw always. So it looked like it was progressing. Imagine going from 50 to 150, or even higher, 164. You've made a decent chunk back. It really seems, look, we made a 240% move. It's only a further 30% before breaking the high. And once we've broken the high, we're targeting the previous all-time high. And although that's true, did it do it? Did it show that it broke the 886? Did it turn it into support? No. And that's why it's so hard to even get myself to put my money in alts unless I'm seeing very, very specific criteria. And that's, for example, if I were to ever touch Quant again, I would wait for 150 and 190 to break. Even breaking 150 is not technically good enough. That's the Fibonacci out of here. And I know all my videos previously have been saying, yeah, I'm waiting for 150 to break. Or that's the signal we should see these targets. But getting back to the previous all-time high, you can see calling for potentially as high as 500 to 800. But you have this even more macro, taking account even more years from 228 to 50, because I'm looking for completed moves down. And we saw this giant move up, 240% move up, only 30% from a new high. And it goes all the way back down to where it was. Now, yes, we're climbing back up. We're dissecting it. Remember that. 112 is the next location. That is resistance. It's the last high. A rejection can come from this huge boxed up area, 96 to 112, massive resistance zone. Because we also have to dissect these moves. This is a significant high that it just had this move down from. So I have to place fibs on that. The 786, can you see it's tying into this red box that I have? So that's why the red box is there from micro fibs. And that is saying that this is a huge potential as a rejection area. And then if it shows that it's flipped into support, then it begins to move into there. And that's resistance. It's just avoided the 61865 here, but it's just before the more macro 786, 886. So let's turn that red. It definitely shouldn't be green, because that just in our mind makes us think it's going to break through. No, the expectation it shouldn't. Just like down here, this was definitely a spot where rejection should and could have come from, because this is, in order to keep the downtrend, that's where it should reject. But of course, by breaking it, we're changing the trend now, different expectation. This now has to be support. And if it's lost, then this bullish breakout will be fake if it's now lost. So extreme consequences, we need to show that with the coloring as well. So we don't fool ourselves thinking it's guaranteed bottom. Now, once it's up there, once it's broken through, and you look back, you'll say, oh yeah, it was obvious that was the bottom. Why was this not the bottom previously when we actually had this massive move up over a month? Why was that not the bottom is my question. So why should this be the bottom? We can argue that it's higher chances it could be the bottom, because after the move failed, it actually didn't break the low. It maintained the 786 and 886. And if that's being maintained, I'm not expecting these. And if you want to learn all of this, then please take the time, whether it's the Discord or the mentorship, see the options on the website. The links are down below. Or private message me on Twitter. You can see that on the left, what my tag is, bottom left. But because that was maintained, we're not seeing these are not becoming valid. That is why potentially this could sustain. But that's in the back of my mind. And we're seeing development to suggest, okay, we're expecting another move up like this, like we saw previously, because the moving averages are now being reclaimed. But this is the earliest rejection point, 96 to 112. By breaking 112, it initiates the move up into 136, 152. But it's no guarantee that any of this breaks. This is all resistance. So it literally is taking it step by step. Now, if you want to make the most money possible, gain the most amount of tokens possible, you have to take the risk that it's going to sustain and break all the levels. If you just want better circumstances to trade and make money under, not really caring about catching bottoms, and just want to get in and out where the scenario is most likely going to be in your favor, then you want all the bearish probabilities out the way. And for that, you need to see all three of these red boxes broken. So once Quant is actually, and QNT Quant is above $191, then I will probably be the most bullish out of you, regardless of not owning it. Because I know the consequences when the macro chart is shifting trend. It has not yet shifted trend, even though we're breaking out bullish right over here and we're currently above the moving averages. We could be above, to get to this level, you have to be above all the moving averages, just like last time. Didn't stop it from losing the trend. What stopped it from continuing into new lows was, just like it was resistance, it's being used as support. It's these key Fibonacci levels. So by holding this, we got the opportunity to break that. If we had lost this, then we're targeting as low as $10. That would take maybe over a year, 2 years to get down there. But that's how it would play out over time. And people will be like, no chance, no chance. But it was the same back here. When Quant was 150, 160 over here in this area, I was screaming that it was going to go down to 70, 60. And you can just imagine I was getting taken the piss out of, because it took so long to happen. 2 years passed to get down to that point. Almost 3 years passed. Almost 3 years passed to get to that moment. 2 years it was. But yeah, imagine, I'm not going to be screaming that every single day and just getting hate. So there's no point in making those daily updates saying the same thing over and over again. So when there's something of development, I will go ahead and make a comment. And we're now getting that bullish breakout. The target is 112. That is the target. But sorry, the target is actually back at 150. But there's a very key resistance as it's the last high. Placing fibs on that last high, measuring that move down, suggesting that between 96 and 112 is a huge rejection point. This is where it could all go wrong. The trend could be lost. So this new bullish trend where the 200 EMA has been broken right there, you can move up into here and then lose it once again, just like this. We could go even high into there and still eventually lose that the moving averages, just like that. Because why shouldn't have this been the bottom, and why did it not break there? Why should it this time? The only thing that could back up that point is that it's maintained the 786 and 886, and previous lost levels have now been reclaimed. Because if it was still bearish, it'd be going down. So we're short-term bullish. The immediate short-term expectation is that it's bullish. And then if it's losing 81 and 84 again, then it's screwed. It's screwed. And it could still be screwed. It could move up into there and still go on a path down into these targets. And that could take years, but it'd still happen. So I will update it as it develops. Great that it's breaking up, but we genuinely can't get too excited. If it was me, I'm not going to be getting involved just because of the Quant BTC chart. Nothing outperforms Bitcoin, so I'm just accumulating BTC. I will play some trades when the market is right, and when Bitcoin has broken its 886. That's the one I care about the most. I don't care if any other coin has broken its 886. The only one I care about is Bitcoin, because if those other coins, they break it, maybe they get a small move up, and let's say Bitcoin gets rejected, then any of those breakouts, they'll be fake in the end and they'll go back down. So nothing will sustain, no coins pump will sustain without Bitcoin breaking out. And so that means any gains will be temporary and they will all be taken away. And if you don't believe that, that's what the Bitcoin Quant, Bitcoin, or any alt. I'm just using Quant because this is a Quant video, and I'm just using this time to share this information about crypto in general. Do not think this is going anywhere long term. Not this token specifically, just crypto in general. The only one is Bitcoin. And if my statement was false, then everything would be going up long term against Bitcoin, but they're not. Because every single dump that occurs, Bitcoin holds up better. It doesn't need to climb back as much. Look at where Bitcoin is positioned in terms of its all-time high. It just needs like another 10, 12K or 13K, sorry, 12, 13K for a new all-time high. It's not the same case. The percent move that it needs is 13%. This is not the case for majority of coins. So it's a lot easier to bottom out. It's a lot easier to put in a new all-time high. It's a lot easier for your money that has gone into a dip to get back to where it was and see a brand new balance you've never seen before. Think of it like that. So because it doesn't go down as much, it doesn't need to climb up as much. Therefore, even though the gains are reduced with Bitcoin, because of how well it holds on to the gains, altcoins don't matter, because altcoins are not living in altcoin season. They're living in Bitcoin season, and they have their moment. And in that moment, that is when I'm trading. When I want to get in alts, try and get a 5, 10, 20x, which we have done in the group chat before. So if you want to check that out, I also do live Q&As in there. If you want one-to-one mentorship to learn how to use these fibs, EMAs, so you know the expectation set, regardless of the direction the market's in, use the links down below or private message me on Twitter. But with that, I have these expectations, I have these biases. So I know that nothing's going to sustain unless Bitcoin breaks out of here. Then that's going to be the opportunity. That's the exact criteria that I want to trade alts. Get in, get out. That's a period where I can get more Bitcoin. That's the only times I'm going to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin other than me just buying with pounds. But if I want to outperform Bitcoin, then I need to put my pounds into altcoins in the altcoin season. But we are always living in Bitcoin season majority of the time. So that's why all the charts, when you compare them to against BTC, I don't know if you can actually do this. Let me see. This is a little test. I've never done this before. Yeah, you can do it. So you can see, yeah. So since the bear market, this has only trended lower, and there was a significant breakout on total 3. This is total 3 against Bitcoin. So we can see altcoins taking away, yeah, total 3 taking away ETH and Bitcoin. You can see altcoins have just been downtrending since. So even though I've actually experienced a 20x in this bull market and a 40x in this bull market over the last 3 years, within this bull market, I've experienced that. Total 3 has actually only been in a downtrend against BTC. It's insane. So that is the reality. Altcoins, they're going over the last years, which I care about because that's what I've lived and just wasted. Look what it's saying. It's saying should have only been buying Bitcoin. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm making sure I'm not going to screw up on again, because I went 5 years outperforming Bitcoin. The one time you don't outperform Bitcoin, you should have been buying Bitcoin the whole time. That's just how it works. And damning statement when you compare any chart that has already lived through a cycle. So if a coin is new to this cycle, it should outperform Bitcoin. But once it's gone through its first bear market, from that point it's screwed. Quant was actually one of the best coins early bear market because it had such a great move from $40, which I called from 50 to 200. I said get out 200. If you remember, because I was using Fibonacci's, it was saying this area is a key heavy area of resistance here, previously resistance. This is where it flipped bearish. Again, it was support, then flipped into resistance. We have some rejections in and around that area, not exactly, but you can see here again, not exactly on those lines, but with micro fibs, you're going to get more specific levels. So hit the 618. So that's why we're not only using macro, but micro. If you want to learn this, remember, links down below. Message me at any point. I'm always available for mentorship. But in the end, we can see it didn't sustain, and it could have gone up as high as 320 and then still gone on a path down like this to 50 once again. All those years wasted. I was sitting through all of this accumulating. The moment I sold somewhere around this area, within 3 months, I 20x'd, not just mine, my Discords. I was telling you all, join. Some of you unfortunately joined in this and then have only experienced down like the whole crypto market has. But imagine only experiencing this down without any gains. At least I did 10, 20x, 140x, not 40x on my whole money, but a little bit of money. And then just being taken away. So, oh yeah, I made progress, got to the next stage in life, all gone. So that's why going forward, I'm making sure I'm not going through that situation every other month, every other year. I'm only buying Bitcoin. I don't give a F. And that is just after 6 years, I'm using this Quant video update to get this message across about crypto in general, not specifically to Quant, although it is in the category of crypto. So wait for 150, wait for 190 to break. Sorry for such a long video. Hopefully this helps, because I was wasting too much time here. Even when I changed up, did something new, I made loads of progress. The market is always going to dip. Alts are always going to drop 60, 70%. And the smaller the alt, more, so maybe even 80, maybe even 90. The amount of gains that they need to get back to where they were, Bitcoin isn't going to move up long enough, because if we dissect the moves of this cycle, we've only seen like 100%, or here 120%. Here there was a 90%. Here 90%. So let's just say 90, 120. So if we take that from this bottom, that's saying 138 to 160k. Is that enough for all the coins to recover to new all-time highs? I really doubt it. Even though this is meant to be the most intense part of the cycle, it's most likely that it gets rejected here than there. Why should it clear all this resistance without getting rejected? Usually when you hit the 1618, the first targeted area is complete and we see a dump. So that's what's happened previously in this cycle. My expectation would be it's just going to continue to do so. And with how much it's moved up already from 74k to 96, Bitcoin's only 12, 13% away from a new all-time high. But to those significant targets, only 40% to 60% move. Is that enough time for 10x's and 20x's? I really don't think so. Or if a coin's down 70, maybe 80%, I don't think it's enough time and enough of a move unless we are going higher than I'm anticipating. But looking at the trend of 90 to 120%, that would be the expectation around the 1618 to the 2 fib. And then that's how I'm going to play alts. I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to break that. And then once Bitcoin approaches this area, I'm back out, even maybe as early as 120k, because that's still a resistance. I can't just ignore. That's the first resistance target. There should be a dip from there. So I can't even get excited about altcoins doing these crazy moves anymore. I can't get excited about buying bottoms because the bottoms might not sustain. There were many bottoms. I showed you that Quant 1 month move. It went from 50 to 170. Look at that progress, guys, all wiped out. Yeah, we're moving back up and there's big potential, more than last time, that this could be the bottom because of the macro higher low. But why should have this not been the bottom? That was still higher than the last low. Why did it not be the bottom? Why was it not the bottom? It made progress day after day. 30 days go by, even longer, over a month go by. And it's pumping 200 and whatever it is percent. It goes nowhere in the end. How long since then? Nearly half a year of absolute rubbish. No progress. And then with Bitcoin, it's like, oh, it's literally, my account's going to be, well, Bitcoin account is going to be nearly at new all-time highs. But it's all about that macro 886 on Quant, but mainly on Bitcoin. We're looking for potential rejection here. Look at this micro fib I've placed in the last days. That's finished right there. That's worrying. I don't want this to be a corrective move up for a new wave down and bear market or whatever you want to call it. The cycles are so different now. But look here, 1 month passes, just like that Quant example, it went all the way back down. Here it went to new lows, and even with the new low, it went up to the 886 and still went to new lows. And now if we place this new fib from this new high to this new low, once again the 886 held. Even if you put it on the range, it didn't even get up to the 886. But yeah, 886, and then on this one it broke. Once we actually see it as support, once we actually see progression from this point, you know, look at it. It pumped into it previously, rejected, built up again. This time we actually broke through, held at support here and here. That's when we expect higher. Until then, I'm not expecting higher because I got burnt buying these bottoms too many times over the past year. They look small because on Bitcoin's not doing so bad. But you go to the alts and you look at the difference. On Bitcoin's only 7% from this low to the next, and 5 to the next, and another 8% to the next. But on those alts, it was like 40% between each, down 85% in a few months on some coins, down 70% in a couple months on some coins. And for that to be the rest of my life, no thank you. So doing the right thing, going the right direction, making sure I don't repeat those mistakes, only going to wait for specific criteria to trade, not worried about getting a certain amount of tokens, getting the most amount of tokens, not worried about getting the most amount of profits, just waiting for right criteria, optimal trading conditions where I know the majority of the time I'm going to be correct. That's going to be when Bitcoin's actually bullish, and when it's broken through the 886, 105k, then I'm going to trade alts. Until then, I'm not touching anything. I've been accumulating only Bitcoin since December. That saved me so much further losses. If you want to follow these moves, check out the Discord community, or if you want to learn to do this all yourself, or literally engrave this into your brain, use the links down below. I've got a new website, and then yeah, I'll take you from there, or just message me on Twitter. Cheers everyone, peace. Like, subscribe, comment, and share.